Good morning. Welcome to Momentum Mondays. I am super excited, pumped up, and on fire this Monday morning. I am excited and honored to welcome to the line a phenomenal woman, someone who is known as a professional coach, role model, mentor, leader, national speaker, vice president of human resources in corporate America, and many others. But she says her most important titles are wife and mom. She has helped me and hundreds of women across the country become better and stronger. Guess what, guys? She is the host and the visionary of this call. Good morning, Jill Green.
Good morning, Lynette. Are you ready this morning?
Oh, yes, I'm on fire. Good morning.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Momentum Mondays. You were listening to the sounds of Jonathan McReynolds this morning called Intentional, and we're going to be intentional this morning. My name is Jill Green, and I'm soaring in 2016, the host of this call that's designed to wake you up, shake you up, and take you up. Where? To new levels in your life, your career, your business, and your dreams. This morning, we're reaching dreams in 2016. But before we get started, I'd love to introduce a few of my amazing co-hosts. We have Bishop Dickie Robbins, pastor of Life in Christ Cathedral Faith Ministries. He's a visionary of the Emerge Leadership Conferences all the way from Chester, PA. Good morning, Bishop.
Good morning, Jill Green, and all the movers and shakers of Momentum Monday. Listen, I was created to soar with eagles, not cluck with chickens. Let's go.
Hey, I love that. That's a hashtag this morning. We also have the amazing Michelle Washington. She is the founder of Michelle Marie Fashion Agency, visionary of Women of More, all the way from Newark, Delaware. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Jill. You know I'm always intentional with executing my plans every single day. Woo!
And also on the line, we have Miss Danita Washington. She's the founder of Girls Rock and Girls Rock Summer Youth Camp, all the way from my hometown, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Good morning, Danita.
Good morning, all movers and shakers and Momentum Monday leaders. Remember, lead with love every day, and especially today.
Every day and especially today. And we also have Miss Dawn Roseman. She's a partner in a major law firm, a writer, keynote speaker, creator of the leadership development platform, RAIN, through which she hosts several talks called RAIN Class and RAIN Tables, and coming soon, the RAIN app, the RAIN Drop app. All the way, again, from Fort Wayne, Indiana, Miss Dawn Roseman. Good morning, Dawn.
Good morning, everybody. Hey, listen up. I was created to reign. I got word on that. And guess what? So were you. Let's do it together. Let's go. Let's reign.
Let's go. Let's reign. And last but not least, you already heard her amazing voice back on the call with us this week, Miss Lynette Rogers. She's the owner of Virtually Yours, founder of Saving Our Youth, and author of the #1 best-selling book, Mission Unstoppable, The Sheep Pen with Les Brown and George Fraser, all the way from Detroit, Michigan. Miss Lynette Rogers, good morning.
Good morning to all the Momentum Monday winners, champions, and just flat out amazing people. I am executing today and every day, and guess what? Killing procrastination, because the future is now. Let's go.
I love it. I love it. The future is now. Folks, we're going to be right here every single Monday morning to make sure that your Mondays will never be the same. If you would like to dialogue with us, go ahead and right now join our Momentum Monday Facebook discussion group and make your comments or ask your questions. You have to request permission because it's a closed group, so go ahead and do that right now. But if you're already in the group, go ahead and post hashtag I am on the call. Now, I have a very important question for all our listeners this morning. Are you tired of talking about what you want to accomplish in your life, your health, your business, or your job? Are you tired of looking at other people's accomplishments and wondering how they were able to succeed while you continue to struggle and dream? Are you tired of being a spectator for those who cross their own finish line? Well, guess what? You can go from spectator to spectacular. You can go from dreamer to doer. You can go from wishing to working, but you must pull the trigger. Michelle, can you tell them this morning to pull the trigger?
Pull the trigger. Man, come on, let's go.
Last week we had an amazing discussion called, the 4 steps to powerful execution, and that's really just getting things done. And we're going to talk about the 4th step today, which is pulling the trigger. Step number 1 was having a clear vision that meets the SMART sniff test, having a clear vision. The second one was identifying target activity. That is, identify the specific things you need to do to reach your goals. Now, I want to give a special shout-out because we gave a little challenge last week, and we challenged people to post in the Facebook group specific targeted activity. And Nashawn from Huntsville, Alabama, Diana from Detroit, Michigan, we had Nakia from Delaware, we had Melvina from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and we had Ebony also from Fort Wayne, Indiana. They were a few of the people who went in and posted. And also, I know Karen Davis also posted from Atlanta, Georgia. I can't get everybody, but those are the few that I remember who posted their target activity. That's a specific thing you need to do. Identify that thing to cross your own finish line. We're not talking about being busy this morning. We're talking about execution. So the last part of our series is called Pull the Trigger. Now, Lynette and Michelle, I'm going to come to you because we're going to talk about what does it mean to pull the trigger. I mean, let's just define it for the folks this morning. Lynette, if I said to you this morning, Lynette, pull the trigger, what am I saying this morning?
Pull the trigger means, to me, get it done. Let's go. Take action. Get off the couch. Cut the TV off. Get rid of all the distractions and make a move. You will never, ever, ever reach your goals. You will never make anything happen just talking about it. You have to get up, take action, make movement, and pull the trigger. That's what it means.
I love that.
Jill.
I love that. Make movement. Michelle, pull the trigger. What are we telling the listeners this morning?
I would say what Lynette said, and also just executing the things that led you up to that moment. So if those targeted activities you already have completed, that should move you to pulling the trigger on that particular thing. So it's executing whatever you thought out or your expectations was for that particular project or thing. Execution.
Absolutely. Pulling the trigger is pure action. We're not talking about planning. We did that already. We're not talking about strategy. We did that already. We're not talking about thinking about it or I'm fixing to do, how we say back in the day, I'm fixing to do, I'm getting ready to do, I'm thinking about. No. We're talking about pure action, getting it done. Now, we're going to talk about examples of what it looks like. But before we do that, I'm going to ask Danita and Dawn and Bishop to help me understand the barriers to execution. Because I hear people online saying, Jill, I want to pull the trigger, but I've been having challenges doing it. Bishop, what are some of the barriers that keep people from pulling the trigger?
Jill, one of the most significant barriers that I've discovered to pulling the trigger is that sometimes, unfortunately, we allow people to rent space in our heads. And we do that by listening to and embracing their negative or discouraging opinions. So I say we need to serve eviction notices to those who are renting space in our head, disregard those opinions, and just do that thing we were created to do.
Now, that's powerful. I want to really talk about that this morning. So first of all, hashtag evict those people that are in your head. Bishop is saying that some of the things that stop us from pulling the trigger are other people's opinions. Now, folks, I know we have some folks on the line that has actually impacted me in my life. So why do you think that is? Why do you think we allow other people's opinions to stop us from pulling the trigger?
Well, Jill, a lot of times it's just a natural human trait that we want to experience validation and affirmation from people that we admire, respect, or highly regard. And sometimes their opinions are no more valid than anyone else, but because of how we view them, we seek that validation and affirmation from them. But we have to shake that off and go ahead and do what God has created us to do. And listen,
Absolutely.
God doesn't need to have a conversation with them about our destiny.
I love that. And I know that we have a lot of people that join our call every Monday that have a new business they've started, or maybe there's a promotion they're going for, or maybe they have a business idea they want to pursue. And there'll actually be people in our family that'll say, I don't know if that's a good idea. You know, last time you tried that, it didn't work out. Nobody's going to think that's a good idea. It actually discourages us, right? Their opinions sway us from pulling the trigger on our idea. Dawn, are you with us this morning?
Yeah, I'm right here.
So why do you think that? Why do you think we allow those things to move us from pulling the trigger?
I mean, it's hard. In terms of other people, it's hard because we want so much to. Man, let's just say it this way. I'm gonna put myself on Front Street. I in the past have wanted so much to be accepted by those who, especially those who are important to me. So you get something and you share it, and you want them to validate it, right? And it's hard when they don't. And it's just what Bishop said. God does not. It's not open for debate. But we open ourselves up anyway, and then it causes us to stumble. At least it's caused me to stumble because I then start mulling over what they said. They weren't as excited as I was about the thing that I got. They didn't understand, quite frankly, what I said I was getting ready to do. Their vision wasn't big enough for themselves, let alone for me, to process what I just said to them. So it all then sits in my mind and serves to cause me to not move forward. And then, that to me, at least on that front, is one of the things that really is hard when you're dealing with other people, and you really just gotta trust. You gotta know this is for me. And
a little earlier, you also mentioned that one of the reasons was lack of confidence.
Yeah,
talk about that a little bit. I thought that was powerful.
Yeah. Because one of the other things I think that is a true barrier, and I put myself out there first, is an unwillingness to experience or unwillingness or not wanting to experience the pain. There's pain associated with going after your destiny. And that doesn't sound sexy. Nobody really wants to hear that. We love to scream when it's like, I got this destiny and this is what I'm going to do. I said it last week. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to do all of these things. But then when the rubber hits the road and it's like, okay, I made this calendar up that says today is a writing day, for example. Well, that means I got to turn off the TV. That happened yesterday. There were things I wanted to do. I didn't feel like I had much time for, quote, unquote, me to do some of the things I wanted to do to entertain myself. But I had made a promise to myself. And more importantly, I made a promise to my future Dawn. And so I couldn't cheat on her, by not doing the thing I needed to do now. But it's painful because I was tired. You don't feel like it. All these things. And so people don't want to experience the pain. They don't want to go through the struggle that is now, that will happen now for what they're going for later. And so they shrink back. And as a result, end up not going after what they were called to do.
Dawn, that was powerful. I love what you said. You said you made a commitment to your future self, to future Dawn. Folks, if you're just joining us, you have reached Momentum Mondays, and we are talking about the power of execution and pulling the trigger. We define pulling the trigger as pure action. But what keeps most of us from committing the action? Look, folks, we talked about in January, only 4% of the people who make New Year's resolutions reach their goal. 4%. Why are only 4% of the 85% who go after their goals achieve them? Because people don't pull the trigger. So we're trying to explore why is that, and I want you on the call today to find yourself in one of these reasons, right? Bishop said, because we like to be validated. We have other people's opinions in our head, and we want people to validate us and say it's okay. Dawn said there's a lack of confidence which keeps us from pulling the trigger, or we don't want to feel the pain. We don't want to run toward the very thing that may make us uncomfortable. We don't like the discipline is what I also heard her saying. And then she also said she made a commitment to her future self. Danita, we're talking about barriers. What else is keeping people from pulling the trigger and making things happen?
Well, one of the things is fear. And hashtag fear is a liar. Fear of being alone and moving past your circle of comfort. I believe that, Jill. And a lot of the things that I've done over the last year, in 2015, has been the most uncomfortable space that I have been in. But the one thing that I'm learning, and a lot of the callers, I'm sure, is that success is usually birthed through uncomfortable and alone moments. And if you're not willing to trust God enough to walk through a lot of those moments alone and uncomfortable, then you probably will not manifest all that he has for you. And a lot of times we settle for good You know, this is in dating. This is in, weight loss. Any of the journeys that you want. We settle for good. We get a job that pays 70 to 80, but really his grade is 100 to 200,000 for us a year. But because we settle for good and comfortable, we don't take the leap as you have done, and make a move and do the things that he asked us to do. And a lot of times alone means it's you and him. So he can get the glory. That's the other thing. A lot of times we want the cheerleaders around us in these groups of people, but really they don't respect the story. So, the story that has gone forth for us to get to the place of glory. And so I think the fear of being alone and moving past comfort is critical. And my hashtag is, hashtag fear success on hold. Is success on hold?
One more time, Danita.
Hashtag fear is success on hold.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Hashtag fear is success on hold. I like that. Danita, thank you. We're talking about pulling the trigger, and she shared a really powerful one, I think, which is she's saying that it's fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of being uncomfortable. Let's pause right there for a second, because that's real. We have folks on the line this morning. If you're honest with yourself, there are times when you have not pulled the trigger because you were afraid. Either you're afraid of being alone, afraid it wasn't going to be, like Dawn said, I'll put myself on Front Street. I have been wanting to produce a writing project for a very long time, and I can't tell you how many times I heard myself say, I'm writing a book. I got tired of hearing myself say it. I can't tell you, Danita, how many times I said I was going to do this, I was going to do that, and I started writing. The little outline. I'd get all excited and put the, little structure together. I'd call my mom and say, Mom, I'm doing this and doing that. And then before I knew it, 12 months had passed. And so I got tired of saying I was going to do it because I was afraid I wasn't going to keep that commitment to the future Jill. And so I was afraid to pull the trigger. Then I was like, well, what if I do it? Everybody's doing this. It's not going to be special. Who's going to like it? Nobody. And then that scared, right? Then another 6 months went by. Folks, we are in our own way. We're talking about pulling the trigger. You don't have to be validated. You have to be confident in what you know God has called you to do. And like Danita said, sometimes it's okay to be alone. She said some of the greatest moments are birthed when you're uncomfortable and alone. Danita, I love that. Folks, we're talking about pulling the trigger. All right, now, what does it look like? Let's paint the picture. We define what it means to pull the trigger. We explained just a few of the barriers. And I would love for some of you right now on the call to go ahead and post in our discussion group, what's been your barrier to pulling the trigger? For some of y'all, it's procrastination. I'm just saying, well, let's talk about some examples. Michelle, let's paint the picture of what pulling the trigger looks like. Do you have some examples for us this morning?
Absolutely. I'll give you a few. One, his name is Joe Anderson, and a lot of you may have heard of him. He was once in the NFL, and he was released. And then he stepped outside the box pretty much, and he went to the stadium for the Texans. And he had a sign, like the homeless people have a sign on the cardboard. And he posted on the sign, not homeless, but starving for success. And he did that. He stood out there for hours because he knew that he had to pull the trigger on getting back. His targeted activities led him to that place of saying, no matter what, I want to get back in the NFL by any means necessary, and that's what he did. His video went viral, his statements went viral and everything, so the Jets picked him up. So that was a great example of thinking outside the box, not being a procrastinator, not just talking about what he wanted to do, but actually executing and putting into action what he wanted. The next one is Beyonce.
Wait. Michelle, hold on for 1 second. I love his story because he did something very unusual and that people could have criticized or even made fun of. And today, if you go viral, it's not always good, right? I mean, I don't know if you got, it's not always good. Sometimes it can be negative or harmful to your reputation or to your character. But he was bold enough to pull the trigger on what he thought he needed to do, even if people were going to say negative things about him. And so I'm also hearing you say, sometimes to pull the trigger, you got to be bold. Am I right about that?
Absolutely. And that key that you said, Jill, with negative, wondering what people was going to say, I'm sure he got negative press, but sometimes we will not do things because we are fearful of people speaking negative. So that goes into exactly what he probably have experienced and what we experience on our level as well. The second one is Beyonce. Beyonce is amazing. She has a great business sense. Of course, we don't agree with everything that she does, but when it comes to business and execution, she does it very well. So with the whole Super Bowl thing, she was out there. We thought that it was just Beyonce, doing a performance at halftime, which everyone was excited about. Great. But she had a strategic plan, a desired outcome, that's where she was going to announce the Formation World Tour. But not only that, Jill, she also launched her clothing line for this particular Formation World Tour. What happened was the whole website crashed where she didn't even get any sales. Now, that's a good thing but bad thing. The good thing is people ran to her website just in that moment to purchase. The bad thing, of course, she didn't anticipate that the website was going to go down. She also released her single on a streamline that her and her husband have. It went crazy. But the thing about that also, she didn't have a third man in, or a fourth man getting a piece of that success. She kept it within her family. But that's the other thing of examples of people that when you're targeted about it, you think about it. So when you execute and put into action, things are just like in its rightful place. You're not fishing to what do we do next. It was a plan, strategically done. And Jill, the last one, on our host on the call. Man, I wish the callers had time to hear about the Bishop, Dr. Dawn, Danita Washington, Lynette, and yourself of the things that y'all are doing successfully, how y'all are pulling the trigger is just outrageous. I'm going to do a little bit, Joe, on that video that you posted or we posted on Facebook that got over 1,600 views so far now. If people only realize what took place to get that up, they would be surprised. We had the desire to do it. We wanted to do it. We wanted to show that experience. But what we did was make sure that we were strategic with placing it on there to allow people to see. So, again, a lot goes into that. People only see the after or the results, but so much go into of executing what you're trying to do.
Absolutely. Folks, if you're just joining us, you're here on Momentum Monday. We're talking about pulling the trigger. And we wanted examples. Michelle, you gave some amazing examples of what it looks like. You talked about the NFL player. You talked about Beyonce, which I think is a really, really great one because everyone knows her who is breathing. And regardless if you like her or not, this woman pulls the trigger better than anybody. And now what we only see, though, is the result. We don't see all the things that led up to pulling the trigger. Dawn said earlier, the discipline. People don't like the discipline. People don't like the pain. There are probably a million steps that happen before Beyonce pulls the trigger, but she does it, right? For whatever reason she does it. And then also we do have some amazing co-hosts who pull the trigger every single weekend and week in the different areas, and I hope that they talk about some of the things that they're doing. I happen to know that Danita was at Notre Dame this weekend pulling the trigger on fulfilling her purpose and empowering young people on the college level, which was absolutely awesome, I hear. So we're talking about pulling the trigger. Lynette, you have an example or two about pulling the trigger this morning?
As I'm thinking about pulling the trigger, I think of all the things that we, at the beginning of the year, we talk about all the things that we want to do, all of the goals we have set. And I thought about, it's more than just like if your goal is a weight loss goal, it's more than just getting that gym membership, as Bishop had mentioned. It's going to the gym. If you are starting your business, I know for me, I have to make a lot of phone calls a day, but it's more than just making the phone call. It's following up. There's people who are looking for jobs, right? So you update your resume and you have your resume all right and exact, but it's more than just getting the resume. It's sending the resume out. When you pull the trigger, it's the constant activity, doing something every single day. And, I thought about some of the barriers as we were discussing, and I had I thought about how, conditions don't have to be perfect. A lot of times we wait for the perfect conditions or we're overthinking things. You have to make the conditions perfect. So when you think about pulling the trigger, the things that you are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, you just have to take some sort of activity. You have to take that action. And I just want to encourage people every day that, you will miss 100% of the shots that you never take. So you want to make sure you're taking the shot. You're taking the shot and not just sitting, waiting for the conditions to be perfect.
I love that. Take the shot anyway. Folks, we're actually already out of time, but I want to do something in the space of our after call. I want to keep moving. We've had several people post in our discussion group, and they're sharing their barriers to pulling the trigger. So I want to take a moment to address that because this is real. And I won't call the name. You guys can read that for yourself. But I appreciate these folks participating. So we have one woman from Fort Wayne who says, my barrier has been the fear of others' opinions and acceptance. We have another person who said, well, my barrier is trying to help others solve their problems without counting the cost. Got in my way of pulling the trigger for my own purpose. Ooh, that was a really, really good one. And then, Bishop, we have another one who said, my barrier is fear of failure. Can you speak to that for a second? Because that is so real. Even if we don't label it fear of failure, that's what some of us are dealing with. Can you speak to that this morning?
Absolutely. If we avoid everything we fear, we literally do nothing, because anything great that we are called to attempt is going to inspire fear. But what overcomes fear is a level of preparedness that gets us to the place of confidence. One of the things you said about other people's opinion or investing in other people's dreams to the point of distraction, we'll never get around to our own. We have to realize that our destiny is like a child that God trusts us with. Nobody is authorized to have a child and allow someone else to protect it, provide for it, and raise it, because if that happens, you basically have put your child up for adoption and haven't even screened the adoptive parents. We are stewards of the destiny that God gives us. Now, here's what gives you the confidence to overcome fear. If I know God said it, I know that God will help me to accomplish it. So my confidence doesn't have to be in me or my ability. It only has to be in my ability to hear that God actually said it. And his grace does the rest.
That is powerful. We have some more that are coming in. We're going to take one more that was posted, but I'm going to ask Danita to respond to this one, and then we're going to issue a challenge. So if you can hang out with us for 2 more minutes, please do so. So, Danita, we do have one that says fear and feeling not qualified to lead or walk in the position were my barriers. Danita, you have something for us on that this morning?
I do. You know, I told some people that, like, I didn't even really post about Notre Dame, and a lot of it was the fear of, you know, not being sure. You know, sometimes you can get asked to do something and be at a place that you yourself don't deem worthy. But for the caller, for the person that posted, what I've learned is just walk through and in it. You know, I told my cousin who traveled with me, I'm on a stage speaking where I didn't even have a GPA to get in. Come on here. Where does that happen at? And so sometimes what we deem as impossible or not purposed or we not worthy is where God is saying, hashtag unexpected people in unexpected places. There is purpose for you there. There is someone that needs to hear a word from you. Yes, the low GPA person, the one who came from the wrong side of the track, for you. And I was amazed at how God took my tongue and my testimony and really transformed a room full of young people. And I haven't really posted about it because I'm still in awe at what he did. And so part of it is you have to be willing to push past, like Bishop said, that wall of fear and pull the trigger. And, you know, my goal, it wasn't to assassinate a room full of people's spirit. It was to grow theirs. And so that's what I wanted to say to the person who posted that they have some fear of what their purpose is, what their, you know, if they have the ability. Yes, you do.
Well, Danita, I think that's really powerful, and I want to highlight what you said. You said, and folks, we're here Momentum Monday. We're talking about pulling the trigger and getting things done. And Danita had the honor and the privilege of speaking at Notre Dame, where she lit up the room with some amazing young college students who needed to hear her word and her story and her encouragement. And she said she spoke on the stage of a university that she could not even qualify to get in. Come on now, that was powerful. What she's saying is, because you pull the trigger somewhere else, it opened doors for her she herself could not open. Come on now. Folks, when you pull the trigger, it will open doors in your life. When you pull the trigger, that means you got to face the fear, feel the fear, and do it anyway. Am I right, Bishop? That means you just got to do it. It means you got to feel the pain, like Dawn said earlier. Bishop, go ahead.
I was just going to say, everybody wants to hold the baby, but nobody wants the labor pain. But if you ask any mother, she will tell you that the pain of pushing is mitigated by the joy of holding the baby. So get in that labor room, push, because the joy will outweigh the suffering.
Absolutely, folks. Bishop, that was awesome. I hear somebody saying something.
Well, and part of it, Bishop, and I'm learning, is that the pulling of the trigger and the laboring, that baby comes, guess what? It ain't just about the mother and the baby. It's about how that's supposed to change the entire unit. A lot of our fear and that bondage, we really are here to move the masses. So it's not about you. My goal was, I think God's intention for me was to show some people in that audience that you can do it too. It wasn't about me. And once I took a back seat and allowed him to drive, I wasn't even tripping no more. I understood clearly, and it was almost an out-of-body experience, because he took over. And so part of what we have to learn is that this walk and these purposes and these avenues that he has given us, it is not about you. It is about moving the masses of people past their circumstances. So if you don't do it, you not only hold your own destiny bondage, but look at all the people behind you that you hold, that you're responsible for and their destiny.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Folks, we can keep going because this is awesome, Danita. Thank you for that, Bishop. Thank you for that. Folks, I want to make sure that you capture the hashtag, pulling the trigger will open doors for you. I mean, you just got to do it. You just got to do it. So I'm going to ask you guys to join us in our 30-day Triggers Challenge. 30-day Triggers Challenge. The 30-day Trigger Challenge is every single day, and tomorrow is March 1, right? We're in the third month now, starting the third month of the brand new year, right? We're still in Q1. And every day for 30 days, starting tomorrow, we will post in our Facebook discussion group an activity that we pulled the trigger on. Remember, execution is about identifying what you have to do and then doing it, right? So many of us have identified our different activities. Dawn says she has a calendar, a writing calendar, where she writes every day, right? The calendar is identified activity, but the writing that actually happens is pulling the trigger. That's just an example. So tomorrow, starting tomorrow, every single day for 30 days, I'm going to challenge you guys to go into the Facebook group and write down one thing you did to pull the trigger. I would say don't wait till tomorrow. I would say start today. But first of all, I'm going to ask my co-host, will you join me in the Trigger Challenge? Bishop, will you join me? And if you're saying yes, I want you to answer by saying pull the trigger. Bishop.
Yes, pull the trigger.
I love it. Michelle.
Yes, pull the trigger.
Lynette.
Pow, 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 pulling the trigger.
Danita.
Boom! Yes, right. Pull the trigger.
Dawn.
Pull the trigger, man. Pull the trigger.
Let's do it. Okay, so Lynette, if you could open up the line so we can hear our amazing callers, and I want everyone who's with us to say, pull the trigger, and then I want you to write in our Facebook group, I'm in, hashtag pull the trigger. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Where?
I'm pulling the
trigger.
I'm pulling the trigger.
Pull the trigger. Pop, pop, pop.
Exactly. So now, I like to open space.
Absolutely.
Pull the trigger.
So my nephew and his friend.
Let's pull the trigger. Pull the trigger. Pull the trigger.